Hi there, and welcome to another great interview. Today I've got the wonderful Dr. Mark Szabo, and I'm going to ask Mark the same question I ask absolutely everybody, and that is, hey Mark, why did you become carnivore?
That is a great question. I think, you know what? I think I always was. I just didn't realize it. I think I always was carnivore, but I would cover it up with other stuff that didn't really work for me. So I think as I look back on it, the times when I would try just to have meat for a period of time, I loved it. This is fantastic. And then I would fall back into the other way. So I think that's why I became carnivore because I actually already was.
That's a brilliant answer. But we met, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago when you booked me to be your coach, something like that. And you was having some issues, some health issues, and you weren't predominantly eating carnivore, was you? You were eating ever such a lot of other stuff. So what were those issues when we first met?
Yeah, for me, I had a really strong and probably still would a strong reaction to sugar and flour, where it would just set off these cravings whenever I would have them, and it would just almost become obsessive with it because I thought like, once I had this stuff, now I've got to have some more, got to have some more, and so I just found that it just sort of um, became really a big part of my life, my identity. The fact that I would use that sort of food to make myself feel better. And so that was probably the biggest challenge. Not everybody experiences that, obviously, but I certainly did. And so I found that my part of my biggest challenge, health wise and weight wise, was just that reaction that I got to those two white powder substances.
Yeah, so the weight, was that a lot? Was you weighing quite a lot, or was you just a few pounds away from where you wanted to be?
I was at the time I moved here, I was about 280 pounds. I can't convert that into kilograms these days, but so maybe about 120 pounds bigger than I am right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, when we first spoke, you told me that you couldn't go a day without eating quite a lot and quite frequently. And we spoke about intermittent fasting and things like that. And I can remember you said, there's no way. There are people that walk among us, but there's no way I can be one of those. So how's that worked out?
Well, I failed miserably at upholding that, and I've become one of those people that sort of that I was said didn't really exist. So yeah, no, I've been able to start incorporating that into my life.
Okay. Now, we've kept in contact for a long time. And even now, every day you send me how long you fasted for and what you're eating. I'm not charging you for that. So people that I think I'm in it just for the money, I think Mark will vouch for the fact I'm in it to get people healthy. Because what you've been doing that for about a year and a half, and your average fasting period, and this is someone that used to eat like 3 times a day. What would you say your average sort of fast is every day?
Well, these days, in the last 60 days or so, I changed up my routine and I went to eating one meal a day. And originally, it was just to see if I could do it. But so now I just eat once a day.
And do you always feel happy with one meal a day? Do you feel satiated and are you enjoying the food?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And again, I'm not a doctor, medical doctor. I'm a doctor of environmental design. So take that one. And nobody should ever listen to what I say. So let's just preface that. I have no idea what I'm talking about, other than my own experience. And it doesn't make any sense that before I would eat. When I would say I would eat 3 meals a day, that's just the big stuff. Like to get between the big meal and the next one, I'd have to, bridge that gap with other stuff just to make it through that 4 or 5 or 6 hours. So it was just constant grazing, constant, um, and mood spikes, energy spikes, like just crazy sort of roller coaster. And now that I'm eating once a day, it's a completely different experience. I don't think about food. I don't care about food. I don't worry about food. I know that I've got, as you like to say, Stephen, I've got a month's worth of lunch strapped to my belly here, so I don't need to worry about that. So it almost takes the sort of not control, yeah, I guess control of that food had over my life before, and it's gone, right? So now I can worry about other stuff that I have to worry about. But yeah, the energy is even, moods are even. And just the sort of mental clarity helps a lot too.
It's interesting when people want to bring up mental clarity. We always sort of think, what's the word we should use? Which I always think is ironic. Anyway, I mean, you are such a different person because, honestly, when I met you, you really didn't believe that you would be this person that you are now. So what do you think you would say to somebody who was looking for advice and was in your position, say 4 years ago, where they're just grazing all the time, they're eating sugary, floury things and setting themselves off on cravings? Would you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I think so. Because and again, it's hard knocks of well over 50 years trying to figure this all out. So what I finally sort of landed on are a couple of things that might be relevant. The main thing is, for me, again, this is my experience, is I had to not be in control of food. That was number one, because all evidence would indicate that when I decide what I want to have, when I want to have it, well, I can tell you exactly how that works out 120 pounds later. So I just don't have that capability. I'm good at a lot of things. Being in charge of my own food happens to not be one of those things. And so, the number one thing I would recommend is to find someone who is trustworthy, who knows what they're talking about, and who's able to help you sort of be in charge of the food for you or together with you. But you can't do that, again, on your own. So, I mean, Stephen, all credit to you for your ability to do that, because that enabled me to lean on your understanding, lean on your experience, lean on your training, and lean on your ongoing support to be able to say, you know what, I can't do it, but maybe Stephen and I can figure this out together. So I think that was probably the biggest thing for me. And I think that the second thing was to realize that it's not really about the food. There's more going on, at least it was for me. So I would eat emotionally, I would eat for lots of different reasons, but it wasn't about food or sustenance. It was about, satisfying some sort of other thing that was missing. So when you sort of dial back the food, it's like, I think it was Warren Buffett had the great quote, when the tide goes out, you can see who's been swimming naked. Right. And so when the food goes out, all of a sudden you realize, ooh, I was covering up all this creepy crawly stuff in my life. And so you got to be ready to just nip those in the bud and deal with that. So it's going to uncover stuff that you probably don't really like, or you've been sort of covering up with the food thing, in my experience anyway. So, just being ready to understand that that's going to happen. And then probably the third thing, for me, was you can't fast intermittently when you're eating carbs, right? And so it sounds like, ooh, magic, he's taking off. When you are carnivore and you are adapted to that sort of way of eating, it's like falling off a log, right? It's not hard at all. There's no effort to it. You just eat when you're going to eat. You eat till you're full. And then I'm good for at least a day. And so the key to, from my experience has been, if you're going to have that time when you're not eating, then you got to eat the kind of food that will last. And carbs don't last. Vegetables don't do anything for you that way. And certainly most of the other food that you're going to have, other than, nice juicy, meat with lots of fat in it, so your brain works. Like without that, don't even bother because you'll kill yourself. Like it's just not tenable. So I think those three things were sort of the big picture of what enabled me to start doing that.
Yeah, they're good 3 points, and thank you for the compliment. But for those people that can't afford coaching, there's other ways of doing it. Meal plans. I offer 2 free meal plans on my website, so I'm not trying to flog anything here. We're just having a conversation. And for those people that are listening carefully, when Mark said you can't fast with carbs, for some people they can, but it's not easy, and that's the thing. It's much easier when you're eating this way because carbs tend to drive you to want to eat again in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whereas eating this way, it doesn't drive that hunger the same way. But there is always the odd person say, well, I can fast, I eat carbs. But I would ask you, are you finding it easy? Are you constantly thinking about food? And this way of eating seems to give you that food freedom that Mark and I have spoken about online because we WhatsApp every day. Basically, that's the accountability side of things. Let's do some practicalities then. You mentioned your weight. Are you at the ideal weight you want to be right now?
No, I'm not. So as I mentioned, about 60 days ago, actually, right when Lent started, I thought, you know what, I'll do something for Lent. And so I said, for 40 days, I'm going to have 1 meal a day. So 40 meals, 40 days. And then sort of, all the things around that to sort of get ready for it. So I had been carnivore long enough to know that I was going to have to eat till you're full and then maybe just a little bit more. And then that lasts. So again, it's not a physical sort of challenge once you're used to eating that way, because I've been doing that for just about a year. It's the mental challenge of it. It's like, no, where's my teddy bear? Where's my buddy? Where's my, friend that I can just eat, right? So it's the mental game of saying, oh, no, you don't actually need to eat your friend, feeling, any of that sort of stuff. It's just, you're just going to have 1 meal a day. So then I got into that mode. And then one of the other biggest sort of learnings for me was at the end of Lent, the old Mark would have said, all right, back at it. Let's go. Right. But for some reason, I finally figured out, oh, wait a minute. No, you just created a new habit in 40 days. It feels great. The weight's coming off. Why would you stop? Like, this actually works. You're enjoying it. It feels good. It's all working for you. Why would you stop that instead of, giving up that particular habit that you just spent all that time putting it in place? Add another one. Like, instead of the 1 meal a day, keep that going, but then add something else. Like, okay, how are you going to get more sleep? How are you going to do, all these other things? So finally, after, time and time again, where I would go through those sort of cycles of, I'm going to do this, and then you do it. And then when it's done, you're like, yes, back to normal. Not smart. So now I finally figured out, you just keep that one going and then add another one and then add another one bit by bit and all sorts of compounds. So anyway, that's a really long way of answering the question of I'm now at the point where I don't honestly care what I weigh, because I can't even believe I'm saying that out loud. I still check in just to make sure, see where I'm at, but it's just kind of like, oh, okay, that's where I'm at. Because now I know when I eat this way, I feel fantastic. I get all the nutrients I need. I lose maybe 1 pound a week, which for me is perfect because then I'm still sane and I can still function as a human and I've got enough energy and I can still lose the weight that I need to. So I don't know what my ideal weight is ever going to be. I'm more interested in, do I keep my habit? Like for me now, it's not necessarily the result, although I do keep an eye on it just to make sure I'm on the right track. For me, the result is the fact that I did it again today. Right? So yes. I did 1 meal a day today. Check. Yes. Success. Awesome. That's a win. And where it ends up, I know it's going to head in the right direction. I don't know when the weight will stop. I don't know. It doesn't matter because I feel fantastic and it's going to be what it is. So it's been incredibly freeing for me.
Yeah, and I think it comes across in your sort of daily missive on WhatsApp, because sometimes you have a 27-hour gap between eating. Sometimes it's 22, sometimes it's 15, sometimes it's bang on 24 hours. And I like the fact that you're just going with your intuition, your hunger, your satiety signals. And I would say that you've got food freedom and also freedom from the scale. I mean, my raw carnivore dog, Rupert, has never once said, I can't have a third duck neck. What is it going to do to my waistline? You know, he just eats. And the thing is, when you eat the right thing, my dog doesn't wolf the food down. And if he's not hungry, he doesn't eat it. And people say, this isn't a normal dog. I said, actually, this is a normal dog. And people that are feeding their dog rubbish are not seeing what a dog is actually like. They will eat when they're hungry. And that's why he's lean and fit and never goes to the vet, 4 years, never ill. It's just incredible. Anyway, enough about my dog. But do you still find the food interesting? Are you finding that it's sustainable and keeping you happy?
Yes, very much so. And for me, what I found, the kind of carnivore that works best for me is beef and eggs. So I'll have a plate, and I hamburger's fine with me. I don't eat steak. Can't really afford steak every day anyway. But a plate full of hamburger, it done up in whatever various ways, and then a couple of eggs, and that combination not only gives you pretty much the full spectrum of all the nutrients that humans are ever going to need, it's bioavailable, so you digest it really easily. There's no wind, there's no nothing, just perfect. To me, that lasts for as long. I've tried, like, okay, I'm going to have a bunch of chicken wings, or I'll have pork, or I'll have something fish. None of that lasts. Like, I can have the same amount of chicken wings, and by the end of the day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starving here. Like, this is not good. Beef does, for whatever reason, just really, really works for me. Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but once you find that, then when it comes time to eat, all I can think about is how awesome it's going to be to have hamburger and eggs, just like I had yesterday, just like I've had the last 60 days. I don't care. It's awesome. It's fantastic. And I think there's two reasons for that. One is, it's like the saying goes, hunger is the best sauce, right? So if you're hungry, it doesn't matter what you're going to eat. But also it's very satiating food. And I just know that it's gonna work for me. So you don't lose that pleasure of eating, but you also don't need the novelty, always new, crazy new stuff. It's just satisfying and just really great.
Yeah. What I really enjoy about talking to you is you're always very careful that it's your experience. You say you're not a medical doctor and all this, but this is all about one-to-one experiences, and there will be people that you just say something and it chimes with them. It will just chime, and the people that need to hear this will be receptive. And one of the things I've definitely learned in the last 5 years is if you want to eat this way, you've got to be ready and you've got to be open-minded and prepared to experiment, because people come with preconceived ideas and they think, well, chicken's an animal, that's going to fill me up. And I will be honest with you, when I did my 30-day challenge on my 55th birthday, I thought, yeah, I'll be all right if I eat a big variety. But the more I speak to people, it does seem that beef and eggs is a big part of a lot of people's success. But that doesn't mean you can't have variety. It's about what works for you. And I agree with you. I mean, nothing beats something like a ribeye. I'm the same as you. I can't afford steak every day. So I'll have ground beef, I'll have butter. I want to talk about some practicalities as well, because how have you found your family and friends receiving the way you eat? Has it been an issue or nothing at all, or what?
It varies. It depends on who you talk to, and it brings up another challenge with this sort of the challenge with this kind of challenge is that food is not just for us. Food is an inherently social thing, and so when you sort of break up social norms, some people get twisted about it, And you just kind of let them. It's when they do that, it's more about them. It's not really about you. So you just sort of let them have their concerns. But so the social aspect of sitting down together, having a meal, and talk. It's like, well, I mean, I'll have something to drink, or I'll have I have heavy cream with decaf coffee, to keep me. So I'll sit there. I'll have something, so you're not like completely just staring at people and being socially awkward. But there are people that don't get it, and they get angry. Some folks have been taught, and I use that word advisedly, that meat is bad for the environment, which is ridiculous. I live in a place that's the ranch where we get our beef is maybe 20 miles down the road, and it's just a bunch of cows standing in big fields of grass. So I'm sorry, but I refuse to believe that you clear cutting land for your whatever products and killing all the animals that live on that thing, and then so you can make your whatever it is. The equation just doesn't work, and I think part of the challenge that some folks run into is they've been told things that actually aren't super accurate in all senses. So there's that as well. So anytime you do something different than everybody else, someone's going to have a problem with it, and you just kind of let them have it. Those people, they don't have to walk around with this around their belly, right? Those people don't have to walk around in a 120-pound fat suit. And if they want to walk around in a 120-pound fat suit so you can eat the way they do, great. Otherwise, just, let me do my thing.
Yeah, and I love that answer. That's so rational and placid and sensible. Sadly, some of the people do get angry, and they just don't want to listen to that. What about people really close to you, like your family? Are they supportive? I know you were talking more about sort of collegial friends then.
Yes, they are. It's funny because my daughter, who's amazing, super bright, she's vegan. And so the two of us we just kind of laugh at each other. It's like, you know what? If your food, my food ever collided, we'd have like a normal meal. This is amazing. So we have a great time with that. But she gets it, right? And I've actually taken a lot of inspiration from her, because when she decided that's what she wanted to do, she just realized that she was going to be who she was and who she wanted to be, and everybody else was just going to have to deal with it on their own terms. Like, this is not a you problem. I'm doing this. If you don't like it, that is a you problem. And I really, really appreciated her sort of ability to do that. So I actually took a lot of inspiration from that. My wife is cool with it. She, once she realized, the poor thing has been through every possible diet that I've done over the years, and she's like, okay, so what's the next thing? What are we doing now? Okay, great. And so for her, quite understandably, it's taken a while for her to go, oh yeah, actually, you're actually doing this, and obviously it's really working. So she's been super accommodating that way, beyond all reason. And my son, same sort of thing. So yeah, close family are once they see you winning, it's hard to argue, right? If it's when it's still early and you're sort of trying things out, they'll give you some leeway. But once they see the winning on all fronts, then it's really hard for them to poke holes in it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good picture you paint, because your daughter's vegan, but you're cool with it, and she's cool with what you're doing, understands your reasons, can see you're living it, and it's working for you. So that's almost like a scripted reply, isn't it? I know it isn't scripted, but it's perfect for these purposes. That there's no reason to be clashing with other people about the way they choose to live their life when it comes to eating food. If they've made decisions, yes, it could be frustrating, like you say, with the misinformation about the impact on the environment, which doesn't make any logical sense. There's death involved in every food. If you're a vegan, you're eating plants that have been flown around the world, you've been pesticides. But in the end, people make their decisions based on what they glean from the news and from reading and those sort of things. Right, I'm going to ask you a grisly question, because you said, you don't have any gas and your digestion is great. Many people think the carnivore diet is terrible because you'll be on the toilet all the time or never. I mean, what are your toilet habits like?
Neither, never, nor always. But certainly less. And it's because so I've read, and I do believe that it's bioavailable food. Like it's your body says, yep, all of that's good. Not that, but all of this is really good. We can use all of this. This is great. It's when you eat stuff that your body just says, what is this? I can't do anything. Get out of here, right? So that's when you start really again, me, right? So run into challenges, but yeah, other than that, it's pretty good. So I don't know, every other day or something I'll get rid of stuff, but other than that, it doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's waste. And if you saw a motor vehicle going along the highway spewing out tons of smoke, you think, well, what are they putting into that? And
Right.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, that's really good. Right. So the other thing I was going to ask you was, when you first started eating this way, when do you think it all clicked? Did it take a long time for you to adapt?
Yes. Yeah, it took me, I would say, at least 6 months. When I first decided, okay, I'm going to lean into this and go hard on the carnivore, at least 6 months. And the first 3 months are just like your body's just like, hang on a minute, like 50 plus years of this, and now we've got what are we like? What's going on here? And then again, I just going off of what I read and other people's experience, it's your body has to change how it metabolizes. So you go from the usual sort of diet into now your body said, okay, so we're doing fat. Like, so fat is our energy. Okay, so how do I, glycolyze fat, all that sort of stuff that happens. But once you get through that transition period, then it's a mental game, like completely mental game, because now all of a sudden your taste buds and all the emotions and all the the sort of pre-rational sort of stuff that goes on around food, it is got to be retrained as well as your body did. So it's a non-stop sort of thing. But I think for me, it was probably after a year of doing it, then all of a sudden I finally realized, like, yep, actually, this is good. And then sort of lean into it. But it does take a long time. Not everybody takes that long, but it took me a long time.
Yeah. And I wanted to add that because so many people that book me for coaching think it's going to be a magic wand. 4 weeks later, it's all going to be hunky-dory. And for some people it is, some people it isn't. Final question. You lost 120 pounds, so I'm assuming you must have done tons of or insane amounts of cardio to do that.
Yeah, not one bit at all. None of that was due to exercise. Like I do exercise to feel good, and I do exercise to get stronger and just look better. But you can't. Well, I shouldn't say that. I can't, and I couldn't possibly exercise enough to get rid of the garbage I was putting in my body. Right. So let's say you're lucky enough and you get to work super hard for an hour and a half, and you burn 500 calories, a couple of pieces of bread, and you're right back at square one again. So the idea that you can exercise your way to weight loss is physically almost impossible if it's not coupled or driven largely by how you change your diet.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's been a great relationship, and I'm so pleased that you agreed to do a sort of comeback video just to give us an update. If people want to see Mark's original video, I'll put a link in the description. And you might be surprised that Mark seems to have reverse aged a bit when he came on, because we are WhatsApping, but we're not doing much face-to-face. So when he first came on, I was a bit like, wow, it looks better than when I first met him. So the reverse aging, again, from carnivore is one of those things. I know we shouldn't say it, but I definitely think that is the case. Your hair seems to be darker, by the way. So that happened to me as well. Do you think that's true?
I don't think I don't know if it's darker. I don't do anything to it. I barely even comb the stuff, but I do find that it's thick, and like I figured, you know what? I'm turning 60 pretty soon. If I can grow hair, I'm gonna bloody grow some hair. So that's kind of yeah, no, it's it's come in quite a bit more than I thought it would be. So.
Well, there's 120 years then on the screen right now. So I'm really pleased that you said yes to this. Thanks for that, Mark. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Your support means the absolute world to me. And if you're enjoying this show, I've got a small favour to ask you. I'd be incredibly grateful if you would consider becoming a supporter and make a small monthly donation. Your contribution will really help to improve the show. I'll be able to improve the software, maybe put a few more episodes out, and do many things that I'm hoping to do in the future. Do them a lot quicker. So, it's a small monthly contribution. You can cancel at any time, and the link is in the show notes. Thanks very much for listening.